Cab Canada ran on Canada's Discovery Channel for a total of 8 seasons, from 2008 to 2015. Of all the seasons, only the 5th season was taped in Vancouver, while the other 7 were taped in Toronto. The host of the show is actor, comedian, and coincidentally licensed cab driver Adam Grow. The show did so well that it even inspired a French-speaking version which aired on the They network in Quebec. And it too ran for 8 seasons and was hosted by Alexandre Barrette. If you've seen the US version, it's pretty much the same idea here. A contestant, or usually a group of contestants, hail down a taxi, only to be surprised they find out they're in the cash cab, and have a chance to win some money by playing a game of trivia. Adam or Alexandra will fire a series of questions at them, beginning with a first round of easier questions worth $25 each, then a second round of questions that are at medium difficulty worth $50 each, and then a hard round with each question worth $100. If they get a question wrong, however, they get a strike. 3 strikes, and they get kicked out of the cab wherever they ended up. If they succeed in making it to their destination without striking out, then they have an option. They can either take the money and quit, or risk it on a bonus question, which is always a visual, and is worth double or nothing. So get it right, the money is doubled. Get it wrong, they lose everything, and just have to settle for the free cab ride. There were also some bonuses along the way. For instance, the red light challenge. Whenever this came up, Adam would ask a question with several answers, and contestants would have a limited amount of time to provide necessary amount. If they succeeded before the time ran out, they won a $75 bonus. To help the contestants along the way, they also have 2 shout-outs, lifelines. Excuse me. The first one is the street shout-out. If the contestants need help on a question, and they want to use their street shout-out, and will pull over, and they can ask a random person on the street for help with the question. The other is the mobile shout-out. If the contestants want to use it, they can use a cell phone provided by the show to call a friend for help on the question. Pretty much ripping off the Phone a Friend from Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Later in the run, another bonus shout-out was added called the Swap Out. If contestants reached the $100 level, they could then use the Swap Out, at which point the dispatcher would offer them a new $100 question. Added in the 5th season was the Bridge bonus, which pretty much replaced the Red Light Challenge, and this was the season that was taped in Vancouver. In the 6th season, the High Five bonus was added. If the contestants rattled off 5 correct answers in a row without getting a strike, then that question would be worth double its value. And lastly, in the 8th season, there was a Triple or Nothing challenge. If the contestants managed to reach their destination without getting a single strike, then the question that was normally worth double or nothing would now be worth triple or nothing. So it's a decent, fun time waster, and the payouts are pretty reasonable for Canadian television. I should point out both the English and French-speaking versions pretty much have the same rules. The only real major difference is Cash Cab tends to ask more questions about science and nature, as it is airing on the Discovery Channel. Whereas Taxi Payant, they can be questions about just about anything. Unfortunately, the 5th season of Cash Cab was involved in a bit of a controversy and tragedy. While the show was finished wrapping up its production, one of the producers was driving the car to its storage facility, and unfortunately a pedestrian was struck and killed. This did not happen during production, and as it was considered to be a complete accident, no charges were laid. Much like the American version, which was recently revived, Cash Cab Canada is also set to be revived this winter. So there's definitely a market for it, as it's had a good long run, and it's a simple enough game to follow with a lot of play-along potential. And it did so well, it inspired at least one copycat.
I'm Joe Motiki. There's no ice cream on my bike. But if you're a food whiz,
Yeah, I'm game.
you'll eat with ice cold cash.
Sweet. Oh, come on!
Ice Cold Cash was a short-lived trivia game show that aired in 2012 on the Food Network and lasted for only 28 episodes. The show was hosted by comedian and kid show host Joe Motiki. And fortunately, although Joe tries his best to carry the show, you can tell that he knows he got dealt a bad card here. Much like Cash Cab Canada, Joe drives around the city using an old-fashioned ice cream cart instead of a taxi, where he finds a customer and then surprises them to find out that he actually doesn't have any ice cream, but instead he's got cash and questions. Very simply, Joe asks up to 10 questions, all about food. For the first correct answer, the contestant wins $10. After that, the money doubles each time. Once they answer the 5th question correctly at $160, they are locked in to at least that amount. Much like on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire once they've cleared the 10 questions. So any contestant or team that manages to clear all 10 questions, which by the way get progressively harder, wins the grand prize of $5,120. And also in between, since we need some filler, Joe will sometimes ask people on the street questions. Since all food related, or maybe showing them an unusual object and they had to figure out what it does. And offering them $10 if they get it right. Unfortunately, it just doesn't have the same appeal as Cash Cab, and it just becomes obvious very quickly that this was a ripoff. Like I said, Joe tries to carry the show, but he just can't do it. See, if you're going to rip off a successful show, you got to do it right, and try to do something to make it stand out. So that's going to do it for this edition of the Game Show Canada. On behalf of all of us, happy holidays and a happy new year. And we will see you in 2024. Till then, long may your big jib draw.